Because there's three of us trying to
Freaking
record.
bam.
All right.
Right.
What episode is this?
Well, this is season 2, episode 2
Yes.
that we're into now.
Okay, that's how we're breaking it down now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Easier to keep track of.
So welcome to another episode of the Ruck and Rise podcast. We have our, a return guest, our first return guest,
No, not our
Shaun
first
Taylor.
return guest. Satch.
Oh, I lied.
Fucking Satch pinched me? What the heck?
But you are the title for our first ever guest last season and our first ever
anything
guest
you say
this
beyond this
season.
point is just like it's lost. Satch pinched me.
We blew it.
What
I
the
blew
heck?
it for Satch though.
Should I come back tomorrow when you lie to me?
Wow.
Anyways, well, welcome, Shaun. On that note, so Shaun, give us a quick, 20, 30 second, little bit of a background, and then we'll get into some stuff.
Okay, sounds good. So for anyone who's listening to this later, my name is Shaun Taylor, and I am the not first repeat guest on the Ruck and Rise podcast. And I'm happy to be here, of course, for a couple of reasons. One is I'm happy to be on your show anytime, but it just it's making me happy to be on the show because before we went live, we probably spent 10 minutes in the green room unrecorded or where no one can see it. And it was a heck of a good time. Like that was a fun 10 minutes, just hanging out, John, around the campfire, as it were, having a few laughs. And so that's what's making me happy right now is coming out of the green room, knowing that we're having a lot of fun. Now we've got our professional podcasting faces on. Not everyone's going to understand how much fun we were having. So with that out of the way, I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome.
My first career was in the Canadian Armed Forces. I left as a warrant officer in Joint Task Force 2, Tier 1 Special Operations, and then went on to subsequent other careers as a civilian or as a veteran. And I'm currently in we'll loosely term it my 10th career, and that is podcasting, which I have now been doing, I guess, formally about 800 plus times. And that has me in the game for maybe a solid year and a half of podcasting, I would call it, where I was kind of taking it more serious. And nowadays, I'm just doing my best to kind of hang out with cool people and soak out their wisdom out of their brains into mine.
Awesome. And I'm really glad that Shaun brought up the green room before we came on recording, before we came on live, because that little bit of banter back and forth, it's sort of that connection piece that I wanted to touch base on tonight. And so initially what drew me into being interested in getting to know Shaun Taylor was a lot based on, I'll be the first to admit it, was that resume that Shaun just sort of discussed and talked about. His past experiences, his past career path, Special Forces Tier 1 operator, 24-hour solo mountain bike world champion. Like those are all pretty big pieces. And so I was, quite intrigued to follow Shaun on social media and get to know Shaun. And, initially when we had Shaun on the first time on the podcast, we didn't know all that much about Shaun Taylor as a person or on a deeper layer than the surface sort of resume Shaun Taylor. And we have Shaun Taylor back on now joining us. And a lot of it is, in my opinion, due to the fact that even though we haven't met in person, I really think we've gotten to know Shaun Taylor throughout this past, I don't know how long it's been, a year or less than a year. But on a much deeper level or other layers than just that sort of not superficial, but that resume level. And that's what's really been interesting to know or get to know Shaun on who he is as a person and what sort of things he's interested in. And the fact that he's just out there trying to do better today than he did yesterday and just kick ass in the game of life. So I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on that sort of other layer of connecting with individuals or with people. Because, like I say, I think in the last several months, we were pretty excited to talk more with Shaun Taylor, but on much more of a personal, kind of deeper level than just that resume sort of thing that you see.
I love it. This is a great topic. I mean, my deal. I don't like talking about myself, but I guess I'm gonna today. So it's a good topic, and I'm glad to do it. So you're right. You're right to describe it as such, Dave, in the sense that a number of people start tracking me because of my resume, and you're also right that over the last kind of year or so, I've been peeling back the layers of my onion in order to expose some of those layers to people who want to get to know me at a deeper level. And that's to include some of my friends who've known me for a freaking long time are learning things about me, last week kind of thing, or the week before, or the 3 months before that. And so now here's the funny part. And I think this is a really important point that perhaps you hadn't considered. In so doing, I'm learning things about myself. And so I'm trying to openly talk about things that I've done in my life or seen in my life. And as I'm doing that, I'm trying to explain it in a way that others can either understand it or resonate with it or use it as some minor wisdom for themselves in the future. But in so trying to do that, I'm thinking of it in a unique way in order to try to put it across in a tangential way to someone else. And so um, this podcasting journey isn't a one-way highway where I'm just kicking out my nonsense, my thoughts, and whatever I've seen in my life. I'm kind of reliving my life to some degree, and I'm kind of relearning myself to some degree. And so there's there's always available granularity on any subject to include ourselves. And so, however deep I want to dive into coffee or mountain bike riding or whatever the case is, whatever silos that I've created for myself in my life that I have dug pretty deeply into, perhaps the one that I'm digging most deeply into now is me, not the hobbies or the pastimes or the things. It's kind of me. And so I'm having to do that for a variety of reasons. And it's for questions like you just asked that I face now in this moment, and I'll be facing in the future. And someone will perhaps ask the same question and with just a bit of a different twist. And then I'll have to think about it that way, which will create a new understanding of not just Shaun, but how better to relate to people, how better to help me, help them, help me. So this is all good stuff. And again, as I started, I am kind of reluctant to do it, but I know that it's got to be done. And so I'm doing my best.
I like it. I like it. And you brought up a good point too. Like, someone's going to pose a question or ask a question, and it's going to cause you to sort of think about how you're going to answer it, and maybe it'll in turn sort of dig a little bit deeper into yourself and how you're going to answer. But sometimes it's in connecting with people, I find even just the that simple, how are you doing today? How are you doing these days? And a lot of times you'll get a very surface layer answer of, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. And things are good, things like that. But I find that, the biggest or the best connections are when someone will give an honest answer. And I think Ali and I are both really on the journey of making sure that it's an honest answer. If we're going to be asked that question, that very simple, how are you doing these days? Be prepared for an honest answer of reflection of actually how we are doing, because some days it could be great, or some moments it could be great. We're doing really well, and then other times it's going to be, well, you know what? I'm kind of struggling with this, or I'm struggling with that, and you're going to get a more open and honest answer than just that surface layer. Yep, things are okay, things are good, because I don't think you really get to connect with someone unless you're getting honest answers. Maybe you probably agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I say we're really fortunate, and most of our friends we connect with in person and stuff, we get really good feedback, and we can be very open with them. But something that I found lately with more people, because I'm being more open and stuff about it, is I am getting a little bit of when I give an honest answer, I'm getting a little bit of people are surprised that I'm giving them this honest
I
answer.
kind of expected that, yeah.
And it's not that I'm giving them like every detail or every thought that I'm having, but I'm saying, like, yeah, I'm feeling really down today. This is going this way. And I'm just, this is what I'm doing to kind of cope or get by or whatever the case is. And it kind of catches a lot of people off guard. And then there's like this kind of awkward pause, and I'm okay to move back like past it, because that is what I'm living, and I'm going to be honest and true to myself. And if people can't handle it, that's fine with me. So it kind of shows you too who really wants to know and who just is saying it just to, hey, how's it going?
I think I think a lot of people expect a short-winded, short answer.
Yeah, and I'm not even. Yeah, it's not that I'm taking up like 20 minutes of these people's time to tell them everything, but I'm giving them honest answers, and people are generally. Some of them have been pretty surprised.
Well, I was going to congratulate you both for doing that with the full expectation that it probably wasn't going perfectly well, because most people aren't used to the honest directness of the moment. And because culturally here in North America, we're used to saying, "Hey, how's it going? Good man, good man. See you later."
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all. And
Yeah.
so it's not even a moment. It's a non-moment. And so by flipping the script, like it's good. It's good to flip that script and get it real. But it's a new thing for a lot of people. And so you've got to do it right. I mean, we all have a responsibility to do the right thing. But if you're doing the right thing poorly, it doesn't reinforce that you're doing the right thing and some other people should start doing the right thing. You want them to pick up what you're putting down. And so it's not just about doing the thing, it's about doing the thing right. And what's right, I mean, each person, it's different, and each moment, it's different. And so rather than, and I'm not, this is not me giving advice. These are my own thoughts as well. So what I try to do is, rather than when they say, "Hey man, how's it going?" Rather than just like throwing out the default answer, if I'm going to tell them how it's going for reals, I'm now custom crafting it for that person while still keeping it real. And some people can handle the heat, and some people just want to make it a short moment. But I'll definitely keep it real. It's just a unique conversation, each person and each moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have, and I mean, I think we all have friends that we've grown up with or spent a good chunk of our lives with. I know personally, I have friends that grew up with in Northern Ontario, went through public school and high school with, and excuse me, and we have a really great connection where we could be months without being in conversation, or even sometimes a couple of years. But when we do get together and we do have conversation, it really gets into a new level of in depth, because they genuinely care about being in that conversation, and they genuinely care about what you're doing in life, and what your goals are, and yeah, where things are headed. And so I really embrace having those conversations with people, and I'll sit on the couch or on the chair for hours and hours, just trying to engage and get a little bit more out of them, because I know they're getting something a little bit more out of myself, and it makes for a really easy, natural flow back and forth. But you can tell that they actually really care about when they ask a question, they care about what the answer is. And personally, I really value that in the connections that I have and the friendships that I've had over the years. And you probably feel the same, I'm sure.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, the you said the word that was in my head, and that is value. And so I'll spend years sitting next to someone if they value the time that they're sitting with me. But if they don't value my time, I don't value the moment. So it doesn't matter what they have to say or what I have to say. If no one's valuing each other's time, it's wasted time. Might as well move on. And so that sounds really harsh, but the math speaks to how harsh you have to be in life in order to see the totality of what you're capable of. And so if you don't want to see what you're capable of, there's lots of time to waste. And if you want to see what you're capable of, there's no time to waste. Now, the important distinction is I'll give away a year of moving upwards in a corporate ladder or in a business or in a sport or whatever. I'll give a year of that away to sit down with the right person who values my time. But if the person doesn't value my time, they get none of my time. And so my time has value. I have to value it. The other person has to value it. And then I have to contextualize it against, well, what would I do with that year? And so if that year would have made me a world champion in something else, I've got to ask Shaun, do I want to be a world champion more than I want to sit for a year with this person who values my time? Then it's down to what is the reward? And no one really likes to think that way, but this is just freaking cold hard math, man.
Mhm.
Now you've got to figure out, well, what's in it for me? Because if you're going to spend the whole year having your time valued, but it's a one-way highway where you're delivering all of your wisdom and you're getting nothing in return, what is the reward? Well, there is a minor reward depending on who you are. It's a major reward, and that is the feeling of helping your fellow man. And maybe that's enough, but that ain't enough for me. I love helping. It's literally in my DNA to serve, but I can't serve namelessly and facelessly and thoughtlessly. I can't just give 100% bandwidth to no end. There's got to be like something tangible on the other end of my give where I see some outcome, some goodness come of it. If I'm speaking to someone, I want to believe that my time is going to be helpful for them in the future. If not now, then in the future. But I've also got to get something in return. I really do. And I think that not enough people grasp onto that there's got to be something in it for you in this game. You can't just give. You've got to get. Now it doesn't have to be equal, but there has to be a get in every moment. Otherwise, I've found, at least for me, if I'm not getting, then I start to become resentful. And so if I give a year to someone, I mean a hard year where I'm trying to fix all of the problems and scrub all of their toilets. And I feel at the end of that year, I got zero. I start to get resentful. And that is just human nature, or at least it is for Shaun. And so I recognize this in myself. And therefore, any relationships that I have now or in the future, there has to be a two-way highway for me. There has to be a win-win. The win doesn't have to be equal, but there has to be a win in it for them and there has to be a win in it for me, or I just can't touch it anymore. Because if too many days, weeks, months go by, I start to get resentful, and that is my math.
Makes total
It
sense.
makes total sense. I mean, in my opinion, well, I think in just reality, conversations are a two-way street, and if you're not getting something, in return out of that conversation for yourself, then basically, I mean, you're just having a one-way conversation, which and I don't think it gets you very far, really.
Well, yeah, you don't learn anything or
Yeah,
anything like that.
I love absorbing things from people. Whether it's emotional intellect or knowledge or wisdom or experience or whatever it is, just even their story of their own life. I love hearing it. I love getting something out of it. I want to know more about the person. I want to know more about their experience and what brought them to the place that they are here now, or where they are now. And I find that I'm hopeful that I'm providing the same sort of feedback back into their lives, and they're getting something out of having conversation with me, because like I say, I really value the two-way conversation, as opposed to just sort of spewing out, this is my life journey, this is my story, and
yeah, how
it's only going to go so far. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And sorry, Shaun, I was just going to take it back, like how we touched on time a little bit right there, because I'm personally struggling with managing my time effectively and how I really want to be. I keep making a couple changes and thinking I'm on the right track, and then I find myself quickly falling back into old habits of working more than I want to be in one area of my job, because I'm trying to make this switch, and I don't know if that's just a natural progress of changing and learning and growing and trying to still figure it out, or if I feel like it's this little push and pull of like, I'm changing and change is hard and scary and maybe I'm falling back. So I'm glad that you kind of touched on time and how important it is, and just kind of reframed it for me there. So thank you.
And another way to kind of think of it possibly is, whatever you think is going on right now, look back 12 months ago, a year ago. So always try to contextualize against a 12-month period. And so 12 months ago, how would you have managed it? Were you managing better, worse, whatever? Do you have new strategies or not? Have you improved? And so sometimes we can get, myself included, sort of overly target locked on a particular thing. All week long, I've been doing ... It's a week. It is a week.
Yeah.
Contextualize it against 12 months ago. Are you kicking arse more now than you were 12 months ago? And if you're not, why not? And those are the kind of questions that are more relevant, the satellite view. But of course, that doesn't negate, don't waste a minute of your life. Don't waste any time. But not that no one should beat themselves up over a micro slice of time. Make sense?
It does. Yep. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah. Shaun, I have a really kind of neat story that I wanted to share, kind of with everyone, and it's just kind of on the discussion topic of connecting with individuals. And sometimes it's, we seek out the connection with someone, but sometimes there's circumstances that I think bring a connection to light, or bring people together. And in this particular instance, it's a really interesting set of circumstances that sort of formed this connection, or brought this connection to light. And so earlier today on my Instagram reel, I put some images up, and there were two images of a watch that were in my Instagram reel story today. And that watch was my sister's watch. And so when Jocelyn passed away back in early February, obviously it was quite a bit of moving pieces and moving parts the initial 48 hours afterwards. And so a couple of days had gone by, and we were kind of going through her belongings and things like that. And I think my father, collectively, we realized that we never ended up getting her watch back. She wore a really nice Garmin watch, wore it every day, and had it all throughout her time in the hospital, and right up until the end. And so we realized that we never ended up getting her watch back, and which we kind of felt a little disappointed on. So my father actually reached out to the palliative, the hospital that she passed away at, and they said they didn't have any record of it, and they didn't know where it ended up. And then he also reached out to the cemetery crematorium where her body was taken, and they also didn't have any sort of record or know where it was. So we kind of thought, well, unfortunately, that's I guess that's the end of that. We're unfortunately not going to get that watch back. And so quite a period of time passed, and Allie started to realize that. So Allie has a new goal. Allie always has goals, and so So she's got a new awesome goal of aspiring to
Allie's biggest fan.
yeah, what next to me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So she's got an awesome goal of doing a 50K ruck in June. So that'll be the sort of longest distance that she has covered with weight on, and it's awesome. But she's realizing
in 8 hours or less.
Oh yes, there's a time on there too. Yeah, in 8 hours or less. So she's got a great goal, great striving for it. But in doing so, is realizing that her Apple Watch, the battery is no longer sort of holding the charge, and for those distances or for that length of time, she's going to need something that's a little bit better. So I started to look into Garmin watches, just even on Marketplace to see if I could find something, because I'm also pretty frugal myself. So so I'm looking for the right deal, for the right watch, which had a long lasting battery. And so I reached out to this one particular individual, and she lives down in Oshawa. We're in Peterborough, so she lives down in Oshawa, not too far away. And looked at the watch online, and seemed to have all the features that we were looking for. And I reached out to this woman, and she's an outdoors person, active, and just a wonderful person to connect with. And we got talking about sports, and we got talking about the watch and the features and all that stuff. And she was wonderful. And so we had set up a time that I was going to go after work, and I was going to meet up with her to check out this watch. And she said, you can take the watch home, and if your wife finds that it's not the right watch and she doesn't want it after a few days, she says, you bring it back, I'll give you your money back. And, which is, I think, unheard of in the marketplace world. But anyways, it was so it sounded great. And the day that we set aside to meet up, I actually got a message from her earlier in the day saying that unfortunately, due to some health issues, she had been in and out of ER over the last 48 hours. So she was going to have to postpone or reschedule the time for us to meet up and check out this watch. And I said, no problem at all. I said, I'm really sorry to hear about your health concerns and things like that. So I ended up telling Allie, I said, well, I'll be home at regular time after work, because this sort of fell through. So I came home that day, and we had dinner, and we were just about to shut it down for the night, probably around 9 o'clock. Allie goes to bed early. So around 9 o'clock, and I got a message, Facebook Messenger message from this unknown name. And the message just said, Dave, I think I found your sister's watch. Does this look familiar? And then there were two photos that she sent me. And I opened it up, and I looked at the pictures, and I just, had goosebumps instantly, and almost emotional instantly. And I said, yeah, yes, that is my sister's watch. I said, first of all, how'd you know it was my sister's watch?
Yeah.
And where'd
you find it?
Where'd you find it?
Yeah.
So she said, and this is amazing, and sometimes people just blow me away with how wonderful they can be. This family lives down in Ajax, and they were just getting out some of their patio furniture, I think, for the season. And their son was in the backyard, and by this patio chair that they had just moved out. He looked down on the ground and in the grass, and he found this watch. And so he brought it to his mother, and he said, Mom, I found a watch. He said, can I keep it? And the mother took the watch and looked at it, and then, kind of realized this is maybe an expensive watch, and did the right, parenting teaching moment, and said, well, no, this belongs to someone. We need to try and find the rightful owner to the watch. But she didn't know anything about Garmin watches, and didn't know anything about the watch itself. Fortunately, or unfortunately, but fortunately, the watch was it had 40% battery life. So, and we're talking like this is just a week ago,
like,
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
like
but
week
from
ago.
when she passed.
2 months had transpired since she passed away. So the battery had 40% battery life on it. So whoever had the watch had charged it up anyways. So she went to the extent, she went to the lengths of Googling this particular Garmin watch and how to open it and how to find the contacts in the watch. So she found the emergency contacts and she saw mom, dad's cell. And thankfully, my sister didn't just list me as brother. She put Dave Curvin in the watch and the emergency contacts. So this woman, got on Facebook and searched me and found me on Facebook, and then read back through some of my stories, I think, and made the connection that my sister had passed, and this was probably her watch. So she reached out and asked if it was hers, and I said, yeah, it is. And so so same thing. We couldn't figure out, have no idea, and to this day we have no idea how it ended up in the backyard in Ajax when my sister was in Toronto, but somehow it did. And then I arranged to same thing before work, travel down to Ajax, and I met up with her husband, also just a wonderful, wonderful man. And coincidentally, he lost his father 3 days after my sister had passed. So there was this kind of odd, unique connection there with really bizarre circumstances where, like I say, he lost his father 3 days after, and there was no connection to where his father passed away and where my sister passed away. So we still couldn't figure out how the watch ended up there. Anyways, I went down and I met the husband, and he kind of gave me one of those, as soon as you approach someone, you're going to get a handshake, but he gave me a handshake, and then he held my hand, for just, an extra piece of time. And we started the conversation, like still holding hands. I thought, these people are wonderful. And this man, I could just feel this great connection just through that extra moment, taking that extra moment with that handshake to really make it sincere and really give me some comfort, because he knew what the watch meant to me and he knew what I was going through. So I just, I thought it was just unbelievable, the whole circumstances that led to that, but then also just that unique piece of that human connection and that contact that really made me think I could, I think, spend hours talking with this person and just getting to know this person, because there's a good person on the other end of this handshake that I really connected with. So that's my watch story that I wanted to share. But the key piece is just those keeping faith in humanity, really, that there's some really good people that are out there trying to do really good things. And this family is a prime example of, found a watch, knew it didn't belong to them, and then went to all the extraordinary lengths to make sure it got to its rightful owner. So it was pretty special.
Let me ask you, how old was the gentleman?
Probably my age or close to 50, I guess. Yeah, probably about 50.
Yeah. So what was it about him other than he knew how he read the moment correctly, he acted correctly? It sounds like he's a righteous dude. But what was it? What was it for you?
It's the moment he walked in. So we met at a Tim Hortons, and I had a general description from his wife of and a name of who I was meeting, but I didn't know, like I had never seen him before in my life. But the moment he walked through the door and we made eye contact, like, we both knew that we were there to meet up with each other. And there was just something about the way he approached and the way, our eyes met. And again, just that kindness and that gentleness that I could feel through the handshake, that I really thought, there's a really good person here. And then just even the initial, he didn't go into, how lot of talk about the watch or anything like that. His immediate reaction or his immediate conversation piece opener was, I'm so sorry for your loss, and I know what you're going through, because he's going through the same thing with the loss of his father. So there was
the power of the shared experience, right?
Yeah, that shared experience. But there was I don't know. I it's hard to explain, but there was something about just the connection and the eye contact and the touch itself, and that human contact. So,
Have you wondered anything more about him? Have you wondered anything about why he is that way? What his life was? Is he a pastor? Is he a CEO? Is he a janitor? Have you wondered any of these things?
all those questions, and I'm almost a little bummed out. I tried to offer up some money on the spot, because I wanted to. My father and I talked about this, and we thought, let's buy the son a watch, because son found it, and he said, well, can I keep this? So we thought, well, let's. So I tried to offer some money to say, like, can you take this for your son and buy a watch or whatever? And he wouldn't accept it, wouldn't have anything of it. And I tried to reach out to the wife after, to just sort of ask if there was any way that I could get an address, or we could send a thank you card down, or some flowers, or even a new watch maybe. And I didn't get a reply, which I'm not gonna push it. We had great conversation leading up to the meetup, where we were kind of sharing some grieving experiences and some grieving process, and that connection. But I tried to reach out after, but I didn't get any response. So it's not something that I'm going to push or pursue, but I have certainly asked myself those very questions. What do they do with their jobs, or but I came to the conclusion it doesn't really matter to me, like what this. I know whatever it is, they're doing great at it. Whatever it is in life that their jobs are, their careers are, I think they're doing awesome, because they're doing an awesome job as humans, but they're doing an awesome job as parents as well, because they taught that child that I have no idea how old the son was, but they're certainly teaching some good lessons, and the right thing to do, and ethics and all that. So
what's the guy's name? His first name?
I'd have to look it up now.
All right, fair enough.
Didn't you say it was Sheldon?
Sheldon, you're right.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Well, Sheldon, thanks for being a cool dude, and maybe you can send him a link to this podcast, and then it's up to Sheldon to decide whether he gets a pat on the back or not. I think it's important to follow up on those kind of things, honestly, like you've tried to do by the sounds of it. But personally, I'd push a bit harder. I would honestly send them a link to this podcast, because there's for two reasons. One, just to let them know how grateful you are, which obviously you are. But I think it's also important that Sheldon and the gang, understands that we all have a responsibility to put the word out that there's good people out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's our responsibility, man. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Darth Vader. You got to choose a side, and when people are on the right side, you got to let the right side know that there's more people on the right side. It's good to hear good news stories, not because of the dopamine, or not because it's an escapism moment or whatever. Good things are happening all around us all the time. It's just that it isn't said often enough. And so it's good that you relayed the story. Hopefully Sheldon and the gang know that it's recognized by many others as that's the cool thing to do.
Yeah. And again, that I don't know, that connection that I felt, that those are really good, kind-hearted people, and to your point, they should be recognized. And when good things happen, it should be noted. It should be, and because there's plenty of times where we can focus on a lot of negative things, or a lot of bad things that we see social media or media in general, we could focus on that. But when there's some really good stories coming out and some really good people doing good things, then that should certainly be highlighted, I think. So, yeah, and even my sister, even in passing, I think, it's interesting. She's connecting me with a few individuals now that are just doing great things, and that was one by odd circumstance or by chance. The other one that I would love to recognize or point out is her name is Ashley, and she is also battling multiple myeloma cancer as well. And her and my sister had been in communication. They had never met in person, but they'd been in communication quite a bit throughout their journey. And my sister had shared her experiences and sort of trying to motivate and things like that. And this individual now is a cyclist, and so they've created a cycling journey taking place this summer, June and July, where they're going to be traveling. I think it's 100 kilometers a day for 12 days, raising money and awareness for multiple myeloma. So I'm going to join them on the 9th of July on one of the days for that 100 kilometers. And join in, and we're dedicating that day in particular to ride for my sister, for Jocelyn. Nice. So yeah. And again, I'm having conversation with this person through social media and just getting to know. And there's one more person that is not just living, but really getting the most out of life. Whether it's on the bike or just trying to raise awareness and do better things. She's getting after it, and it's awesome to see. I'm watching the videos, and I'm hearing the stories, and she's living life to the fullest. And this summer is going to be pretty cool to join some great people out for a ride. So,
well, so you're talking about living life to the fullest. So you're externalizing, you're looking at others and thinking this of them, but I'm sure they're thinking the same of you guys to some degree. I mean, you don't spit out sentences like they're living life to the fullest unless you understand what fullest looks like.
That's a good point.
And so usually when you're kicking out sentences like that, it's a reciprocal thing. Like you're also living life to the fullest. And so it's good to be able to recognize it in others, but you got to kind of use these. This is not like some bizarre therapy session or anything like that. This wasn't from a self-help book. This is just an original thought. That's all I'm saying is when you kick out a sentence like that, usually you can kick it back at yourself and there's an element of truth to it,
It's great. Yeah, it's a great point. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I know personally, I've got goals for this year. I've got goals for 2025, and Allie's got goals for this year, and goals beyond that, and they involve living life to the fullest. I mean, I'm on the bike, whether it's the road bike or the mountain bike, and just out there trying to stay fit and trying to stay active, but really get the most out of every single day. And it feels great, and I think, I hope that more people embrace that and try and, as we say, live life to the fullest and get the most out of every day. It's a good feeling.
It is. And again, it's indicative of where a person is in life. And so and as humans, we're also typically curious and want to know how to make our day tomorrow a bit better. And so let's say, for an example, focusing on you, Dave, you want to be a 24-hour solo champion in your local race scene at some point in the future. And so I know for sure if that's an idea in your head, it wasn't the only idea in your head. The next idea was, well, how do I do that better? And so now you'll be tracking people who are in that game. You'll be tracking nutrition a bit closer. You'll be tracking hydration and recovery and all of the things. You're looking at gear. You're in the game of trying to do that thing better. And the moment that you start doing that, you start hearing and watching people who are doing it better That's how you know that someone's living a full life, because you're trying to figure out how to live your own full life. And you recognize someone living a full life because you're in the same stream, you're in the same path of wanting to be the best version of yourself. Now, if in your head you're thinking like, man, life is lame. There's nothing to do. This sucks. Well, I wish part 97 of Game of Thrones would come out so I've got something to do. Large shrug the shoulders. Like, now you know what game you're in. You're in the game of sucking. And so if when you're in the game of suck, you're what you surround yourself by, social media, by your research, by your reading, is suck. More suck. More news about what someone thinks episode 103 of the Game of Thrones will be. No bearing on anything. But that's what invades our internal world by what our external focus is in. So if you're focused on living a large and in charge life, you just see more large and in chargers all around you because you're in the game of being in that game.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And as you were talking about that, as you were saying that, I'm I'm picturing, when I watch your videos when you're out on the trails shredding and hammering it, and I'm watching, because I'm watching every line that you're taking, I'm watching every corner that you're taking, I'm watching, every little detail about it. Because yeah, I'd like to think that I'm in the game.
For sure, man.
And to that point, Ali and I were just talking earlier about dinner time about equipment and things like that. Like, I'm looking ahead to the future, and I said to Ali, I said, "Well, I hate to say it, but I think this
The bike that I just bought isn't good enough."
That's right. Yeah, that's where
Just say it how it is.
that's where it
dude.
went. Yeah, I hate to say it, but
Let me do it for you. The bike that you've got currently is an excellent bike B. It's your backup bike. It's the bike that you take to the 24-hour race that gets left in the pit for when your type A bike, whatever, picks up a mechanical and you have to run that bike in for the last kilometer, drop it down, grab the secondary and punch out while your pit sorts out your plan A. And when you come back around for your next lap, bam, you're on plan A. That's the way it is, man. Like at a Series 24, you don't show up with your hands in your pockets wondering where your single bike is. You show up with like the heavy artillery, with all the tools.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I said, Ali, I said, well, I think this bike will probably get me through this season, and maybe an 8-hour at the end of the season, which I have in mind. I said, but yeah, to that point, it's not going to be my 24-hour bike. And so,
Can it be my bike?
it could be yours. It's going to be a large frame for you, but
Yeah,
we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got, I don't know, I've got about maybe 8 or 10 bikes, and my wife has nearly the same amount, and so, man, it's an investment in living an awesome life. If you're into skydiving, you should own a couple of parachutes. If you're into curling, you should have at least 10 brooms. I mean, whatever, man. Just freaking invest in being awesome. And whatever the cost is, like, I know how much bikes cost. Holy moly, I bought enough in my life. And they're all amortized out in my head, man. Like, I know how many hours I'll spend on a bike, and then I just simply do the simple math of, I'm going to ride that thing at $1 an hour. Done. And so I'll just freaking smash on that thing until I'm now Las Vegas buffet in that bike.
I am really glad that you put it out that way, that I'm riding $1 an hour. Is that I can justify, the purchase of the next bike a lot easier.
Well, on today's economy, maybe it's $2 an hour. But what? Right. But dude, what can you do for $2 an hour that stokes you up nowadays? I mean, what? 5 minutes of pinball machines? I don't even know. There's not much that you can do for $2 an hour that is freaking rad. And so I don't know. It's a no-brainer to me that if you want to get in the game of life, you've got to have a few tools. And those tools have got to be the sweet spot of whatever you can afford to buy initially that outperforms you, that eventually you plan on outperforming it. But that's a few years down the road. So that's how I shop, is not for today. I shop for a few years down the road, and then I try to smoke it about 3 or 4 years into it, you know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's funny because Dave's hobbies are so much more expensive than mine. I'm like,
Yeah.
can you just get me a weight vest and a new backpack
New
with
ruck?
a
Yeah.
no, not a ruck. The
hydration
thing.
pack.
Yeah, the hydration pack to go with it. It's like $20.
Yeah.
But you know, you say that, but wait till you see the bill for your knees a year from now. So I mean, you've got to choose wisely.
Yeah,
You know, the sports equipment might be more expensive, but the orthopedic surgery might be also quite expensive.
it might be. It might be. And I tried mountain biking a couple weeks ago. I had a good time.
Yeah.
In one of the videos, it looked like I was going in slow motion because I was just going so slow because I'm
Well,
a bit
you
nervous.
probably were.
Yeah.
Doreen and I had this conversation. You probably saw from a few days ago, Doreen and I riding together,
Yeah.
and she said, "Wow, I can't believe how slow the video makes me look." And I said to her, "Dear, as I was riding behind you, you can't believe how slow I thought you were riding."
I can relate, Doreen. Maybe when we come visit, Doreen and I can go on our own little track, and you guys can go and smash. We'll meet you at the bakery.
Yeah.
You know, but here's the best part. Like, she's a good rider, and she's fit, and she would outride a lot of girls. But just there's levels to the game, man, and I'm just at a completely different level, and it's hard to understand until you ride with me. And of course she knows this, but um, you know, there's just levels to the game.
100%.
Yeah. On that note, your podcast levels have, I think, risen more and more. And do you have more? I know you guys just started, the gold mine, and there's a there's a few podcasts that you're on. Is there more for the future on that front, or well, I'm sure there's always more for the future.
Well, there's always more. I just don't know what it is. It's around the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, with an adventurer's mindset and the acceptance of failure that I have nowadays. I mean, whatever, man. Freaking bring the failures. I love it. Around the corner, I don't know, man. Who knows? Another podcast, another book, another movie, another freaking pogo stick. I might invent a pogo stick. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, if you know anything about me, I'm up for whatever. I'm into it. And so if someone walked up on me tomorrow afternoon and said, "Have you ever thought about being in a 12 season series about rad people?" My answer would be, when do we start? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? I've got to travel around the world as well. Can we start yesterday? I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm into things that are challenging, that have some adversity, that are teaching me new things. But I'm also aligned with trying to do it better for the collective, and trying to do, help the troops out, and try to make a bit of an improvement in the world, even if it's just a tiny little improvement. I just want to not leave a mark, but I want to help shape a bit of a difference. And so I may never accomplish anything in my life, but it won't be for lack of trying. And by accomplishing something in life, I'm not talking about getting another title that says he's the CEO of the world or whatever. I don't care too much about titles. All I care about is outcomes. So the more experiences I can cram into my life typically create outcomes. And I'm always interested in not the end result, but the outcomes towards the end result. Ideas are fun, man. Thoughts are fun. What's next is fun. But I'm really most happy when I'm squeezing something by its throat, called the outcome, with an action. I love to not know what I'm force choking around the corner right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, and that's right back to the whole initial point of we had Shaun Taylor on episode way back when we knew Shaun Taylor's sort of resume, if you will, and now we have Shaun Taylor on tonight based on pretty much everything that you just said in the last 90 seconds or 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it was, where you're talking about just smashing it and excited for whatever's around the corner, whatever's coming next, and you're going to get after it, and you're going to who knows what it is, but you're going to make it happen, and you're going to be excited to take it on, and that's exactly why we wanted to have more conversation with Shaun Taylor, because personally, and I think Ali would agree, we find it inspiring that you're out there getting after it, and we're trying to do the same kind of approach, just doing better today than we were yesterday, and setting more goals for the near future, but also for the distant future, and then the journey along the way to achieve those goals, and that's where the experiences are really made,
and the people that you meet and the friends you meet along the way.
That
Exactly.
is, listen, I was holding my breath, like clamping down on my teeth to try not to say it. And it's simply this, man. I mean, we all can kick ass as much as we want. But if you're in the game of like being villainous, ass kicking, like if you're a villain and you're kicking ass in the villain community because you're a goof, well, you're not hanging out with good people.
Mhm.
But if you're in the job of kicking ass like and being cool, eventually you start gathering cool people around you, and then the good people that are around you make it easier. And that's the thing that doesn't get talked about much, the inverse relationship of how easy it is to kick ass in the villain world, because everyone wants to get villainous, and everyone wants to get their Batman on and all of that good stuff. There, villainry is easy at the front end, but the deeper you get into it, the harder it gets. Whereas being a good guy, being cool in the world, starts off kind of hard. Like it's hard to do good into the void, and it takes a while for good to connect to you. Good doesn't attract as quickly as villainous. That's been my observation over a lot of life. And
Mhm.
so villains get together pretty quick. Goodness doesn't get together quite as fast. But once you've got goodness surrounding you, the journey is so much more fun. So, right about that halfway point for villainous and good, villainy starts sucking, whereas good starts getting better. And I don't know. That's my theory that I've seen time and time again. And I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, or if you've seen that in your lives, but maybe sometime in the future you will.
Yep, definitely.
It does make sense, and I think good takes maybe a little bit more time to know more about yourself and who you are as an individual, as a person, and then then attracts more good. But I think it just takes more time, maybe more life experience, and the villains just kind
It's
of
hard work, man. It's
that's
hard
it.
to be good.
That's it.
It hard being a good person is freaking hard, man. It
Yeah,
ain't easy.
well, you said
It's
it.
work. Being a villain is easy. You just laze around watching Netflix and plan your demonry. You know what I mean? It's easy. Being a good person is hard work. It's a 24 and 7. And there's no days off. I mean, you can't do 6 days of being a good human and then take a day off called villainry. Who does that? So if you're fully in the game, being a good person is freaking hard work, man. I don't care what anyone says. And perhaps like once you're almost achieved the level of enlightenment, whatever that is, maybe it gets so easy that it's not a big deal. But I wake up every day knowing that I've got friggin' homework in front of me, man. Every single day, trying to just be a good dude. Because I think that if you're not keeping it in check, you can backslide to villainry pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and I think that's why Ali is the better half of the Rock and Rise podcast. I'll start a thought. No, that's not what I meant.
Dude, that's my wife keeps me in check for reals.
Yeah. Oh no, I meant I'll start a thought, and then you'll be able to carry on and bring it out what exactly it is in meaning. But or yeah, maybe you're keeping me in check. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
There is one other thing that I wanted to add on to what you were saying there, Dave, and anything that I got figured out at this point in my life is I'm freaking 60, man. Whereas you guys are young bucks. And so, like, all of the years that you've got between my age and your age, I mean, you'll be surpassing me easily by the time you're 60, whatever surpassing means. And so sometimes not enough people hear that. Maybe I don't say it often enough, but I'm freaking 60. By the time you hit my age, you'll be doubling my goodness. You'll be doubling my resume. You'll be doubling whatever it is that I've accomplished, because I don't think I'm particularly special. I just think that most of the time I talk to people who are younger than me and I've just got a few years advantage on them. That's it, man. I think that's a big part of it.
That's the key. Yeah. 60, look like you're 50, and you get that haircut, you're gonna look like you're 45. So
Dude, I don't know what it's gonna do.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. I might look like I'm 90.
Who knows? Yeah, time will tell.
Awesome. All right. Well, Shaun, thanks so much for coming on and having a conversation with us. And we always look forward to having discussions and see where it's going to go. And yeah, anything else you want to add, Shaun?
I just had one more question.
All right.
Sorry.
Sure, bring it.
Well, I guess it's like a two-parter. It's, what does Doreen think of all your podcasting things, and has she ever considered coming on a podcast episode with you?
That's a timely question, actually, because someone hit me in my DMs just a few hours ago and said they'd sent out a DM to my wife, and she hasn't replied to it yet. I don't think she's seen it yet. Asking if she would go on their podcast and asking me what I think of that. And I said, well, Doreen and I will talk about that and see what the intent of the podcast is, what the trajectory of the podcast is. Because I'll get to the first part of your question now. What does my wife think of it? She thinks I'm doing good for the world in a minor degree, probably, that lets her put up with my nonsense. So I guess I'm introducing enough good stuff to the world that she'll put up with my craziness. And what does she think about being in social media to some small degree? Well, it's just probably as uncomfortable to her as it is to me. And so, I mean, you saw some of it. You saw some more of Doreen at the end of last year on our vacation, because, of course, she just recently retired. And I mean, she was freaking not so busy before she retired. And so now she's just starting to see things a little more clearly as to the social media world. I don't want to speak for her, but I'll paraphrase it a little bit. At when we were finished in Vancouver at that presentation for the Night to Inspire for Satch, before I'd done my presentation, in fact, before any of the speakers spoke, Doreen started to get a sense of a side of me that she just actually doesn't know much about. Because I don't talk, other than when I'm in podcasts, I just haven't really talked about that James Bond lifestyle within my own family unit. And so she didn't know about like some of my sniper friends, or she didn't know about like maybe some of the things I've done, or my reputation, mostly is what she had no idea about.
Mhm.
And she also, it's not that she was surprised, that's the wrong word, but it opened her eyes when the moment that we stepped in till the moment the night had completed, I never stopped having my hand shaken. People just like, it's going to sound crazy, man, but people lining up. And so I didn't expect that. She didn't expect that. And so for her to see that, she's brought it up a number of times that now she understands, having heard people talk to me talk to them, and then seeing some resolution in a person within 2 or 3 minutes, or an easing of their life, or them
Mhm.
nodding their head and going away with some wisdom or whatever, speaks to them. She just saw it too many times in real time, that now she has a different view of what I'm doing. Up until Vancouver, she just knew that I was trying to be helpful on social media. But after Vancouver, she saw an entire different side of the impact, as did I to some degree as well. But anyway, that was eye opening for her. And so now I suppose she's trying to figure out if she wants to be a part of social media or not.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, we're excited to come out west this summer and spend a little time with both of you, and yeah, have some more in-person conversations
And lots of laughs.
yeah,
At Dave's
It'll be
expense.
good. It'll be
Yeah.
good. You're going to have a great time out here for sure.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to hosting you guys when you come out, staying at our place and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And it is important that I'm glad that you raised the subject. It is important that people understand, not that you're visiting our place or we're hosting you. There's, I just want to put a point across the point that at a higher level, it is kind of a collective to some degree. It's not about me doing something for you, you doing something for me. It's just about an umbrella of people who have become friends on the internet and
Mhm.
are just cool being friends.
Mhm.
So I've always got time for friends,
Yeah.
and I think that's often not understood out there in the interwebs. I am particular about who I'm friends with, but when someone's my friend, like you're my friend for a long time, and until you do something wrong, mikasa e sukasa. You've always got a place to put your head on, a pillow in my house, in the spare bedroom, Dave Curvin. And so, I think it is important that people understand that it ain't podcasters talking to podcasters. It ain't shows talking to shows. It ain't a guest talking to some hosts. It's friends just hanging out. I
100%.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and yep, we yeah, we feel the exact same, and the feeling's mutual. When you guys come our way,
We ain't gonna.
so,
Well, you haven't met us in real life yet.
You didn't let me finish that sentence. I was going to say
Have you seen our riding out
garage
here?
is welcome. Yeah, no,
He means for a visit.
yeah, no, I get it. I don't know if I'm gonna make it home after it's gonna be my first time to the West Coast and to see the
Dude,
mountains.
listen,
So,
there are people in our town from a variety of different countries that came here for the weekend and never left 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 generations ago. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
I know.
I'm just saying, be prepared.
Yeah,
Like when we came into Rossland, and like I didn't know anything about this town. I did one ride, muddy ride up on the mountain, and then the next day I raced a 24-hour solo in Spokane. But that one ride in Rossland and looking around, feeling the vibe. Oh, wait till you feel the vibe. It's literally why we moved here. I mean, we spent less than a day here, and that was it. It was right under our skin. And
That's amazing.
2 months later, we were living here, sold our house in Calgary, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Yeah, it's gonna be good. So
Yeah.
wow. Awesome.
I hope you're not too attached to Ontario. I'm just saying.
Well,
if we didn't have a 7-year-old,
we share custody with our youngest son, so it'll be. I'm sure he'd be fine to go on the plane by himself.
He can visit.
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
Exactly.
If he starts walking now, he'll meet you there next year.
What an adventure he'll have.
Oh boy, yeah, you would too. Yeah. Awesome. All right, my friend. We're gonna sign off for tonight, but we look forward to having a lot more conversation and having you back again, and we'll chat soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, same.
Awesome.
Thanks, Shaun.
Thanks.